If you have registered in the past, you should not get involved in the CBR again unless you have had problems with your PVC or fingerprint recognition during accreditation in any previous election.
And now the details. As the Lent season reaches its climax, Christians converged on churches to mark Holy Thursday, also known as Maundy Thursday. Elizabeth Omori reports that the clergies hinged their sermons on tolerance, true service, and leadership by example, as demonstrated by Jesus Christ during the Last Supper when he washed the feet of his disciples.
In preparation of Easter, Christians perform the feet washing ritual as exemplified by Christ when he washed the feet of his disciples before the Last Supper. This spiritual exercise reflects the act of humility which the Bible instructs to be a lifestyle in order to eliminate rancor, pride, and violence.
This is a period of reconciliation. It's a period where you get to think about your Creator, like what your purpose is on earth.
Lessons from the tradition, clergies say, include patience, selflessness, among other virtues.
Wash the feet of one another in the church. Wash the feet of one another in the wider secular society. If our religious leaders do that, our political leaders, traditional rulers do all that, I tell you, we shall have a more peaceful society where people feel loved and people are served.
As Christians, as leaders, you should humble yourself before the Lord.
The Holy Week ends on Sunday with Easter celebration. In Abuja, Elizabeth Omori, NTA News.
Well, it's Good Friday, a Christian day commemorating the crucifixion of Jesus and his death at Calvary. Good Friday is also known as Holy Friday or Great Friday. Christian denominations observe Good Friday with fasting and church services, which are ongoing as we speak. Now, to give us more insight into Good Friday and its significance, we are joined here in the studio by Reverend Dapo Olaiwola of the God's Glory Baptist Church, Karu, Abuja. Many thanks for joining us.
It's a pleasure, sir.
All right. Why is the day when Jesus Christ was crucified known and referred to as Good Friday? People in this day and age would think otherwise. Why would we refer to it as Good Friday?
Yes, it is very heroic and very eventful because there are some pre-events that has come before today in ancient history of the church between Jesus, the Jews, the church rulers, and all the likes. But what is so much paramount and significant about today is that today is the day Jesus was arrested. And if we are talking about his resurrection, and without crucifixion, there will not be background to it. Yeah. So, with the picture that today is a dark day, is a picture, is a background that we have a place to take off into resurrection, which is significant in the life of the church and in Christian life.
All right, just expatiate for us on what Christ actually did on this day that we know as Good Friday. We know that obviously he died for the sins of mankind, and without this great sacrifice, where would we be in this in these times today that we are experiencing in Nigeria?
Yes, it's so much significant, it's so more purposeful, it's so more meaningful, the death of Jesus Christ. Because the death of Jesus Christ demonstrated love to humanity. In fact, it's a point of sacrifice for every woman's therefore. It's a point of tolerance to every woman relationship. It's a point of reconciliation between disarray world. Looking at what Nigeria is going through in a couple of years, looking at what world is going through, looking at the pandemic in the past, the death of Jesus Christ, the blood of Jesus Christ has brought men together, has brought women together. As a matter of fact, irrespective of religion, it's a point of reconciliation that people should live in love. People should live in harmony. Everybody should tolerate one another. Everybody should help one another and let the world move on. We are in a global society that nobody can live alone. We are in a global society that religion cannot separate us. It doesn't make sense. So what Jesus has brought to humanity is love, is peace, is reconciliation, is tolerance, is assistance, is helping one another. And it's so much significance that Christian faith will always commemorate the death, resurrection of Jesus Christ, because it's so significant in humanity.
All right, these characteristics that you mentioned, love, respect, and benevolence to one another, that Jesus Christ emulated. In your view, are we, as ordinary people, imbibing these characteristics in our daily lives, or would you like to see more improvements?
Yes, by human falling, we are still being challenged. But church should promote it. Church should emphasize it. Church should make it known to people that you just must love one another. Because that is what Jesus died for. That is what Jesus was crucified for. That is what Jesus resurrected for. That is what Jesus purposefully promoted. So now, even though it is lacking, it must be promoted. Even though it is lacking, we must pronounce it. Even though it is lacking, we must announce it. And everybody must be ready to appreciate the resurrection of our Lord Jesus Christ, the suffering, the pain. The death of Jesus Christ is a lot of sacrifice. And so when we are talking about loving one another, when we are talking about sacrificing one another, when we are talking about tolerating one another, we are actually talking about making a huge sacrifice. And it cannot be too much for a nation Nigeria like ours. It cannot be too much. And by so doing, everybody will live in peace, will live in joy, will live in progress of all manner of endeavors.
All right, Reverend Dakpo Olayiwola, many thanks for taking the time to
welcome, sir.
Share your insights on Good Friday for us. Thank you.
You're welcome.
That was Reverend Olayiwola. He is of the God's Glory Baptist Church, Karu, Abuja. Now, Christians globally are commemorating the day Jesus Christ paid the supreme sacrifice for the sins of the world. As part of activities marking the day, the Catholic Secretariat here in Abuja held processions dramatizing Jesus' journey through the torture to the point of death at the Mount Calvary as a reminder of the sacrifice he made for the faithful. We'll bring you more on this subsequently. Now, in the spirit of the season, President Muhammadu Buhari has congratulated Christians in Nigeria as they celebrate Easter this year, which is the most significant festival in the Christian calendar. In a message, the president explains that this year's celebration is very unique for adherents of the two major faiths in Nigeria, as it culminates the 40-day session of Lent for Christians, where the faithful are expected to fast, pray, assist the poor, abhor injustice and strife, give alms, and penitently engage in self-examination and repentance of sins. Similar values, he says, apply to the Muslim faithful, currently about halfway into the holy month of Ramadan. President Buhari says the message of Easter, which commemorates the resurrection of Jesus Christ after crucifixion and burial, reminds us of the power of divine love, faith, and redemption. He urges Nigerians to increase love for one another rather than hate and show more patriotism, as this is the only country they have. As Nigerians approach another season of electioneering, the president wants the security and unity of the nation to be guided by actions and utterances of the citizens. He wishes all Nigerians a joyful and blessed Easter. And determined to ensure crime-free Easter celebrations, the Inspector General of Police, Suzman Alkali Baba, has ordered intensive security patrols of all public spaces and critical national assets across the country. In a statement, Acting Force Public Relations Officer Muyiwa Adejobi says all state commissioners of police and their supervising assistant Inspectors General of Police have been directed to provide adequate deployment of police personnel and operational assets to areas of security interest within their respective areas of responsibility. The IGP has equally ordered supervising officers to ensure confidence-boosting, proactive and high-visibility patrols along the highways, motor parks, train stations, airports, worship centers, recreation centers, banks and other financial institutions, while taking adequate measures to provide a peaceful, crime-free and enabling environments for religious, cultural and other socio-economic activities to thrive. While felicitating with Nigerians on the commemoration of the crucifixion, death and resurrection of Jesus Christ, the IGP appreciates the citizenry for their support and calls for continuous cooperation with the Nigeria Police and other security agencies by providing timely information that will help in the prevention and detection of crime. Let's turn our attention to other news. A crucial meeting of the National Security Council is to be convened next week with a view to taking far-reaching and decisive measures against the resurgence of violent crimes in parts of the country towards achieving lasting peace, stability and public order. President Muhammadu Buhari is summoning the meeting following suggestions received from the Council of States, which met to discuss critical national issues. State House correspondent Adam Musambo reports that the meeting observed a moment of silence in honor of the late head of the interim national government, Chief Ernest Shonekan.
Holding for the first time in 20 months, the virtual meeting of the Council of State was convened by President Muhammadu Buhari to seek the advice of members in the exercise of his powers. Three former Nigerian leaders, Yakubu Gowon, Abdulsalami Abubakar, and Goodluck Jonathan were physically present, while Chief Olusegun Obasanjo participated virtually from the US. Issues relating to the challenges of security in parts of the country dominated discussions.
Where the situation is escalating is mentioned, where the situation is getting better was mentioned, and suggestion, like I've said, were provided and solution discussed. And President promised to discuss this with the service chiefs on Tuesday, all the issues raised, so that adequate security arrangement will continue to flow.
The Council of State noted that despite the high cost of food items, which is a global phenomenon, Nigeria is virtually food secured and the security situation in the northeast significantly enhanced.
The governor of Borno really commended the president for the good work that security agencies are doing in the northeast, especially Borno. He said he can sleep now with all eyes closed. He see clearly an end to insurgency in the coming months.
Chairman National Population Commission Nasir Isa Kwara briefed the council on the commission's state of preparedness for the forthcoming national population and housing census in the country.
We have been able to lay the solid foundation for the census. The pilot census, we're hoping, will be taken in June. And if we're able to achieve that, we're hoping that we should be able to conduct the full census after also the general elections in 2023. So we're hoping to give Nigeria a digital, accurate, and widely accessible census. The Council has noted, and we've been given the go-ahead to continue with our activities as we planned.
Meanwhile, the Council of State has ratified the grant of presidential pardon, clemency, and mercy to 159 of the 162 Nigerians recommended by the Presidential Advisory Committee on the prerogative of mercy.
Well, the first person in respect of which objection was raised was convicted and sentenced to 120 years imprisonment on grounds relating to stealing and conspiracy that runs into billions. And he served 5 months in prison. But then there was a recommendation to the effect that he has life-threatening ill health. But then an objection was raised at the council that it will send a very bad signal, taking into consideration the volume of money that was said to have been stolen and the conspiracy element of it.
In the meantime, President Muhammadu Buhari has been given the go-ahead to confer the National Honors Award to some deserving Nigerians.
And it's a reflection of Nigerians who have made significant contributions to this country. Men and women of character, men and women of integrity, men and women who have excelled in their various fields of endeavor.
434 Nigerians and friends of Nigeria have been proposed for the National Honors Award to be held for the first time under the Buhari presidency. From the State House, Adamu Sambo, NTA News.
You're watching the news at 10 on NTA News 24. Up ahead. Welcome back. Let's go to the National Assembly. The House of Representatives has passed the bill amending the 2022 Appropriations Act, approving 4 trillion naira subsidy on petrol. The approval is sequel to a federal government request submitted to the House last week seeking adjustments to the 2022 fiscal framework. The amendment of the 2022 Appropriations Act enables adjustment to the schedule, which previously had 442 billion naira as subsidy for petrol. The adjustments made an additional provision of 3.5 trillion naira, bringing the amount to 4 trillion naira. And the Senate has approved the revised 2022 fiscal framework with an increased budget deficit from 965.42 billion naira to 7.35 trillion naira. The new fiscal framework provided for estimated crude oil price benchmark from $62 to $73 per barrel, daily crude oil production from 1.883 to 1.6 million barrels per day, an increase in the federal government's independent revenue of 400 billion, additional provision of 182.4 billion to cater for the welfare of the Nigeria Police Force, and provision of 76.13 billion for domestic debt service.
Testing for reduction in statutory transfers of some agencies totaling 6.07 billion.
Or laws that we can put together that can make the embassy spend money on their own, of course, is welcome. But I think that as it is now, the president has written that it should be repealed. But I can see that it's here.
The executive side to ensure compliance with this act when it is signed by Mr. President.
Let's talk business now. The Nigeria Exchange Limited announces launch of West Africa's first exchange trade derivatives market with equity index futures contracts. Details with Alika Okpanachi Arua.
The launch of NGX ETD market saw the listings of 2 equity index futures contracts, NGX 30 index futures, NGX pension index futures, with more securities to be added in the future. To promote clearing efficiency, stability, and confidence, the exchange has collaborated with Premier Central Counterparty (CCP) in Nigeria and NG Clearing Limited to provide the clearing infrastructure for NGX derivatives market and its clearing members, Access Bank and Zenith Bank. The ETDS market will commence with trading activities by the first 3 trading license holders, Cardinal Stone Securities Limited, Meristem Security Limited. Commenting on the launch, the Chief Executive Officer, Temi Popula, commended the efforts of stakeholders who have successfully driven the completion of the derivatives market since 2014. He said NGX remains committed to building an exchange that can cater to the increasing sophisticated needs of domestic and foreign investors, a strong pillar to enhance liquidity and expand capital market capitalization. NGX ETDS market will complement existing asset classes, provide investors and other market players with the necessary tools for tactical asset allocation, as well as improve risk and cost management for effective portfolio management. It will further enhance the participation of domestic and international investors in Nigeria's financial markets, which will positively impact the performance of the economy. In taking a look at Wednesday tradings on the floor of the exchange. With business news, Alika Opanachi, Arua.
Now, following the high number of invalid registrations recorded in the ongoing continuous voter registration exercise, INEC Chairman Professor Mahmood Yakubu is appealing to political parties to sensitize their members on those qualified for the exercise. The appeal was made at a media briefing at the INEC headquarters, Abuja.
If you have registered in the past, you should not get involved in the CBR again, unless you have had problems with your PVC or fingerprint recognition during accreditation in any previous election. In that case, all you need to do is to revalidate your registration by visiting a designated registration center to recapture your fingerprints and picture. Other registered persons who may also get involved in the CBR are those whose PVCs are missing or defaced, those whose details need correction, and those seeking to transfer from their current places of voting to other locations. These cases do not involve new registration. Apart from this, the CBR is essentially for Nigerians who have attained the age of 18 years and have not registered earlier.
Meanwhile, the Independent National Electoral Commission has suspended the continuous voter registration exercise in Ihite Uboma local government area of Imo State. This is sequel to a report by the resident electoral commissioner, Professor Emeka Ezeonu, to the effect that Mr. Anthony Nwokoriye, a staff of the Imo State Office of the Commission, involved in the ongoing exercise, was shot dead by unknown gunmen at the Ihite Uboma local government area. The resident electoral commissioner further reported that the state office is making efforts to locate the whereabouts of the two remaining staff involved in the registration exercise. The commission extends its condolences to the family of Anthony Nwokoriye and prays that God will grant them the fortitude to bear the loss. Ex-internationals Ike Shoronmo and Finidi George make a list of new coaching staff appointed by the Nigerian Football Federation, and Scotland versus Ukraine World Cup playoff tie rescheduled for 1st of June. Over now to our sports desk for details.
Former Super Eagles winger Finidi